Welcome back, and here is Samson's stake. Kojo upon Kroma Godfrey Dami Yabwa, Mr. President, promote RTI, punish the violations. The RTI Commission is back in the news for all the right reasons. Like me, many were disappointed at its verdict, affirming the presidency's decision to refuse to disclose cost of the president's profligate charter plane travels. Well, now he has stopped. But after those expensive travels, some unnecessary, have cost the country dearly. Just how is the nation or the president's security in danger by mere disclosure of the cost of those private jet flights? Flights which are now a matter of public knowledge thanks to the investigative MP for North Town, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. The RTI Commission has earned the respect of citizens. It has been applauded for keeping fidelity with the law and giving hope that some public institutions will maintain an enviable professional outlook and do right by the people. It has been flogging public institutions whose officers forget that they exist because there is the word public in their name, and that their duty and obligation is to serve the public whose taxes pay their salaries and fund everything they do. In 2022, the Commission slapped a 50,000 Ghana cedi fine on the Ghana Fire Service, the Ghana Police Service, and others for failing or refusing to give information requested, especially by the Media Foundation for West Africa's The Fourth Estate online publication. It is the biggest user of the law. The Commission made orders compelling disclosure of information. The Minerals Commission, which demanded $1,000, now 12,000 Ghana cedis plus, to release information to the Fourth Estate, was ordered to charge 1 cedi 90 pesos. That's about 2 cedi Ghana cedis for PDF copies and 1 cedi 80 pesos per page for an A4 photocopy. It challenged the Commission's decision in court and lost in the most embarrassing manner. It spent 27,000 Ghana cedis on lawyers in the High Court and has again hired lawyers with your money, taxpayers' money, to get the Court of Appeal to overturn that decision. Just give the information. It doesn't belong to you and your family. This week, the Commission has fined the Ministries of Education and National Security, the Ghana Education Service, 50,000 Ghana cedis each, and the Lands Commission, 100,000 Ghana cedis, for not supplying information requested by Kofi Asare of Africa Education Watch and Oliver Barker-Vormawor of Fix the Country, as well as the Fourth Estate and Occupy Ghana. The fines attract 10% interest every 14 days until they are paid off. These institutions have also been ordered to release pieces of information or the information requested within 14 days. In part 2 next week, I discuss details of the disgraceful conduct, and you will be shocked at the kinds of basic information sought and refused. It is gratifying to note that the Commission intends to go to court to exact these fines and enforce its orders against defaulting institutions, those acting with impunity. It is baffling why heads of these public institutions bring such bad name to themselves, their institutions, and the government. The information requested is generated with public funds. Guys, what's going on? And the information generated is for the public, not for you and your family. You want a secret life in public office? They need it to ensure accurate publicity and for accountability of the government to the people, as commanded by the Constitution. Most of the institutions fail to even acknowledge letters by the requesters and would also not respond to the RTI Commission when it wrote to them to explain their shameful conduct. They forget the Commission has the powers of the High Court to compel them. The Attorney General, yes, even the Republic's lawyer, just supplied information to Occupy Ghana with an apology for delaying to do so. Godfrey Dame Yeboah has always handled RTI requests with such respect and courtesy for the people. The Supervising Information Ministry, Kojo Opon Nkrumah, the Attorney General, and the President must begin to publicly denounce the lawless, unconstitutional, and disgraceful conduct of heads of institutions exhibiting and superintending such disrespect for citizens seeking information by resort to the RTI law's orderly rules. Heads of such institutions should be made to pay the fines from their pockets. Be proactive in promoting what is right, punishing wrong, or lose the right to complain about wrong. And that is my take. And this show is brought to you by the kindest sponsorship of Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN, everywhere you go. Ashasi University, educating ethical and entrepreneur leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Service, your comprehensive eye care service provider. And My Way Insurance. Simply dial *165# on the MTN to join. St. Thomas Eye Hospital, providing excellence in eye care. We'll be right back to deal with the vexed matters.
Card will not be used to vote in the 2024 election. The Ghana card is only a requirement to register as a voter. Once you present your Ghana card and successfully register as a voter, you will be issued with a voter's identification card which bears the code of your region, your district, your electoral area, and the name of your polling station. The Ghana card does not have these features, and therefore it will not be used to vote in the 2024 general election. The CI before Parliament seeks to promote the continuous registration of voters and advocates for an all-year-round registration of eligible voters at the district offices of the Electoral Commission. It is a clear departure from the previous system where the voters' registration was done for a limited period. We are mindful of Article 42, Article 42 of the Constitution, which enjoins us to register Ghanaians who are 18 years and above and who are of sound mind. We do not intend to disenfranchise persons who qualify to vote. More especially, it will prevent unqualified persons from influencing our elections and having a say as to who should govern our country. This is an issue that borders on the sovereignty of our nation. Simply put, only eligible Ghanaians must be entitled to vote. And we call on our honorable members to support our efforts to prevent foreigners and minors from getting onto our electoral roll.
With respect to the integration of our database with EC, the hope is that it will help eliminate the cost of periodic voter register compilation, card issuance, and voter verification, depending on which of these options the EC will independently select to pursue. But it will also result in the issuance of secure ID smart cars with 10-year life cycles if this were ever to be considered. But most importantly, it will eliminate concerns over voter fraud due to the high integrity of our database. There will be no duplication of voter ID and determination of eligibility based on age, based on citizenship, and also based on the person's identity, that you will be who you say you are.
The 3.5 million cards will be released at the appropriate time for the work to be done. We agreed on 100 million CD transfer, and as he rightly said, 80 million has been put into the accounts of CAL, and 20 million, as he also mentioned, will be done by close of business today. So we are very comfortable about the situation to ensure that the needed cards will be given to the NIA to do its work.
The Speaker has no business in what business is transacted in Parliament. I wouldn't say that at all. Except to say that no Speaker has the right to also say that I will not allow government business to be transacted. No Speaker has that authority. Period. See how the minority can say that we will, if you say we will not allow it, yes. The Constitution provides you the way, if you don't like it, to oppose it.
Speaking on Newsfile on Saturday, 25th of February 2023, the Executive Director of the NIA, Professor Kenneth Agyemang Atefa, said, and I quote, "Since about August of last year, we have experienced financial constraints in the system, and it created a situation where even though we have 3.5 million stock of cards in a bonded warehouse, we are unable to access the cards because of the financial difficulty," unquote. He proceeded by saying that currently about 2.5 million cards are yet to be printed. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the words of the National Identification Authority and not the minority. It is also a fact that the registration process for the Ghana card has been characterized by several difficulties, including logistical constraints. The National Identification Authority has further admitted that the issuance of Ghana card is a continuing process and therefore cannot be completed at any point in time. Therefore, making the Ghana card the sole requirement for voter registration cannot be accepted, as it would deny millions of Ghanaians their right to register and vote. Again, as noted, the national security strategy, one of the main risks, as noted by the national security strategy, that one of the main risks of Ghana's peace and security is mistrust in the electoral processes. The suspicion of collusion by the ruling party and the Electoral Commission to rig the election for the ruling party continues to drive the situation towards dispute and potential violence.
Right. So, will this proposed CI pass? In the pre-laying consultations for the proposed CI, these discussions have come up, and the minority insists that this must not be allowed. Otherwise, many Ghanaians will be disenfranchised. 6 months ago, here on Newsfile, when we discussed the issue, Kofi Bento, who is joining us this morning, predicted that if the EC went ahead, there will be multiplicity of suits against it in a manner that it cannot handle. Have his views changed, coming to the knowledge that so many now have the, as it were, the Ghana card, and that as many as 10% on the electoral roll, 60% on the electoral roll, over 10 million people, is it, have the registered for voters' ID card using the NIA card or the Ghana card. Is it impossible to clear the 2.5, or call it a little over 3 million people who are left to be captured before elections? So, joining me this morning, Kofi Bento, lawyer and senior vice president, Imani Africa. Suleimana Brahima is executive director, Media Foundation for West Africa. Dr. Sribo Kweku is director, electoral services at the Electoral Commission. And here in the studio are Sylvester Tete, MP, Botiano English Manfro, and Vice Chairman, Communications Committee of Parliament. Also, Mahama Yarga, MP, Boku Central, and member, Constitutional, Legal, and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, and delegate, ECOWAS Parliament. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for making time to join us on Newsfile.
Good morning, Samson.
Great. So, Kofi, I have already asked you my question. So, having listened to the pre-laying consultations that went on in Parliament, has the EC not succeeded, has Jean Mensa not succeeded in convincing you to change your stance? The NDC agrees, and here in the studio last week, Dominic Ayene used the expression, a clean society. That is what the Ghana card will deliver for us. A clean society in the sense that you will not have the situation where some people are carrying 2 identities and so on and so forth. Each person will have only 1 identity. That's what the Ghana card process guarantees. So having listened to the EC, having listened to the NIA, let's hear whether your position has changed.
No, it hasn't changed. We all want a clean society. And Samson, people must not forget, 3 elections ago, we were crying for the NIA to be resourced, so we will use the Ghana card to vote. So we will not have the EC registering and issuing its own cards. 2 elections ago, we repeated it. So it is not that we are against this or that. But there is, or there seems to be, an arrangement by which people will be disenfranchised if they do not have the Ghana card. And the statement is very important. People will be disenfranchised if they do not have the Ghana card. And they are not having the Ghana card. It's not of their doing. You've heard about how many cards are held up in a warehouse somewhere. Now, the law, however, says there is a fundamental qualification for voting. You must be a Ghanaian citizen above a certain age, of sound mind, etc. That fundamental requirement is not Ghana card. So what we are saying is, let us move to the Ghana card. But why has it taken us 12 years and we have not done this simple thing of issuing ID cards? In any case, if around the time of election, we have not finished satisfactorily issuing Ghana cards to everyone on a continuous basis, such that if I lose my Ghana card, I can go and get one within a week, then let those who have the Ghana card use it, but those who do not have the Ghana card should use other constitutionally acceptable means of identification to vote. Our problem is excluding everyone except those who have Ghana card. I don't see why that is difficult anyway. So my position hasn't changed, and the position is as follows. If the EC insists that Ghana card will be the only means of being registered to vote, then people who are qualified to vote by the Constitution will be disenfranchised, and many of them will go to court, and they will win.
Well, you have heard the finance minister give the assurance that the 2.5 million Ghanaians that we are told who are 15 and above, qualified to be registered under the NIA for a Ghana card. That's the number outstanding to be captured. If you look at the population census 2020, that population census gave us about 30 million Ghanaians. Out of that number, 17 million in excess have registered and have a Ghana card, is it? 17 million have registered. They have printed almost 17 million cards. That's 16.737734 cards. The cards they have issued, 16 million cards. People who attempted multiple registration, 95,942. And those under review, 656. They are saying the outstanding is only 2.5 million. That is 15 years and above. And they didn't have money. The finance minister says, I have, cleared that hurdle. Money has been issued. The banks that were holding the cards in custody are supposed to release the cards. The NIA says we can use less than 6 months to finish the outstanding number to be registered. What do you say?
All that is very good news. And honestly, the problem with that is, why did we sit down all this time? It took Newsfile to get the government to work. But be that as it may, I have no doubt that the NIA is capable of registering every person they have to register in Ghana. Issuing ID cards shouldn't be that difficult. And the NIA particularly has had hundreds of millions of dollars to do that work. So for me, it is doable. I'm happy they say they can do it. This is their constraint. The ministry has come in. But let us make the issue clear. The NIA must register everyone that is eligible to be registered, so that everyone that is of voting age will be able to vote. And then there must be that connection between the Ghana card and the EC, such that effectively we will have continuous registration, because the persons who will turn 18 1 week before election are due and they are valid voters. If they have a Ghana card, then 1 week before election, if they become 18 years old, they should be able to vote. The EC should create the system which makes that possible. My worry is that
by the EC's law, is it 60 days or 90 days before elections, you cannot register to participate?
It is my view that that law is unconstitutional. The Constitution is above any other law. The Constitution says you must be 18, you must be able to vote. If a day before election you are 18, you must be able to vote. Now, the EC's law made sense at a time when we did not have the wherewithal to determine who is 18 years old. That is what the Ghana card solves. So indeed, if we want to make progress, we should have an arrangement where if you have a Ghana card, you really don't need to re-register for an election, so to say.
To every law, there is an exception.
There will always be reasons for this or that, but if the reasons really don't make sense, we should not stick with them. That's why I say the EC law, if we have a Ghana card system where people who are eligible to be registered under the Ghana card system can all be registered and are all registered, except those who choose not to, then indeed the EC should have the system, and they've spent enough money to be able to generate that system, by which if you present your Ghana card on election day, all it needs to do is to check what the Constitution says it must check. You are a Ghanaian and that you are 18 years plus. If even that 18 happened 2 days before, you should be allowed to vote. The EC law, which says 60 days, it is time for that to go. And we need to make progress, like the politicians are saying, so that we'll give everybody who is of voting age the opportunity to vote and not stop anybody simply because of administrative procedures.
Right. And I have decided on a deliberate path. I want the, members of parliament to listen to you guys, and then we will come to them. Now, Sule, thank you once again. So, yes, like Kofi asked the question I was asking the same last week, that this CI, we first heard about it some 7 months ago. Now, some 6 months ago, we sat on this program and discussed the issue, and the number outstanding to be registered was the number that is still outstanding to be registered. If the state is that committed, the question being asked is, why wait till now to begin the process to now give the money for the cards, for the registration process to continue? In fact, 6 months ago, Dr. Sribo Kweku was on this show and expressed the faith. He was almost certain that by the close of the year 2022, the outstanding number would have been covered. Here we are. But of course, the finance minister says the money has now been released. So, do you understand the opposition still?
Well, Samson, let me start by saying that for me, it is quite strange that almost every election, the EC itself, particularly this electoral commission, the current leadership of the EC, makes effort to sort of discredit its own register. If you recall, before the 2020 elections, we were told that, well, the current register has a lot of issues. It is not pure. It has minors, it has non-Ghanaians, and all of that. And we went through the very challenging situation of having to amend the register months into elections. Even people raising concerns about a decision by ECOWAS to say, look, you don't have to amend your register during a certain period to elections. And yet we went through that. Today, we are being told that the new CI is to cure whatever challenges we have with the current register and to ensure that we have a very clean register. Samson, the truth is that when it comes to biometric data and national databases, national identification database and all of that, a lot of countries around the world take inspiration from India. India did it almost a decade ago, and if you read the literature, whether it is the World Bank, the Brookings Institute, and a number of think tanks around the world would say that India remains the gold standard when it comes to national identification and how to use national databases to deal with a lot of the issues that we are talking about. And quite clearly, listening to the EC, I see a lot of what was done in India being talked about. But in India in 2015, Samson, the Electoral Commission there decided to embark on what it called the National Electoral Roll Purification and Authentication Program. And the idea was how they merge the voter roll with the database of the National Identity Authority there, and that is called the ANHA also, if I'm pronouncing it right, but ADHAAR. And as I said, India has what many would say is the gold standard. If you read the World Bank reports on digitization, economic development, and all of that, reference is made to India's success. But even at that time, the Supreme Court of India eventually shut it down and said, look, if this was going to happen, a lot of people were going to be disenfranchised. And indeed, in the 2015 poll in certain provinces, a lot of people were disenfranchised because they didn't have the national identity documents. And that's about a country that started this whole thing 10 or more years ago, has been touted as a global success, and so on and so forth. And here we are in Ghana. We still are grappling with people not having the NIA cards. People haven't complained about, they've gone through the process 6 months on, they haven't gotten it. And yet, we have an electoral commission that says we are bent on using the NIA card as the sole means of identifying yourself as eligible to be put on the voters' roll. I think that it's quite complicated. And we need to take one step at a time. We've come this far from opaque ballot boxes to voter cards without pictures, to voter cards with colored pictures, to transparent boxes, to biometric use of biometric machines, no verification, no vote. Last year, the same process led us to take that bizarre decision that your birth certificate cannot authenticate that you are a Ghanaian. And we went through the process of just NIA and passport. Even as citizens were crying and all of that. Today we are saying, even those steps that we took aren't enough. And we now have to go through the process of having everybody or those who want to be on the register produce a national ID. When we know a lot of people don't have it. But sometimes my surprise is that over the period, and not just this time, every incumbent, every government appears to have thought and planned with the EC. And so they are always thinking the same way as the EC. And that is what we are seeing now, where the majority, the MPP, appears to be okay with everything that the EC is doing. The minority says no. And for me, there are fundamental things. Look, it is the same EC that has, that created a situation where we live in a country where a particular group of people in this country don't have a representative in parliament. And almost 3 years on, we are okay. We are looking on. What has the EC done to ensure that that whole mess is killed? Nothing has been done. We are in a year where
Sule, the EC's primary concern and the reason for which it wants to use only the national ID card as the identifier to be registered as a voter is, as the commission chairperson says, to eliminate the guarantor system, and by doing so, you eliminate minors and foreigners who use that route to get onto the EC's roll. The EC, up to 2020, has managed to do what it says is some sort of a cleanup of the register. So a register of 17 million Ghanaian voters has as many as over 10 million Ghanaian voters who use the ID, national ID, to obtain their voter ID. So they are hoping that going forward, no room is allowed for that register to be, if you like, diluted. So if you use only Ghana card, you will refine it and clean it even more. It has been shown that when they ran the Ghana card through the previous registrations and those who didn't register with Ghana card, they seem to have found multiple names and, seek to clean the register. When you run the Ghana card through our passport system, we are told the same thing, multiple names, including passports that even the passport office has no, records of. So this is to ensure a cleaner register. You don't agree?
Well, Samson, the aspiration sounds great, but practically, it would be great if the EC can point us to any particular country, either on the continent or elsewhere, where that has been done successfully. And I'm saying that, look, when it comes to national databases, even the NIA, I'm sure, would say that they had to learn a lot from what has happened in India. And even there, they couldn't, use the national ID data, merge it with the EC's data to say, look, we've solved all the problems related to whether having foreigners or having minors and all the issues that the EC is talking about. I share the view that the NIA card and its database is something that if we work on it properly, we'll get to a point where a lot of issues in this country will be dealt with. But even so, we are not even talking about, look, the issues of privacy and how the EC plans to mitigate the challenges that may result from that. And we've learned about Philippines, for example, where the EC tried to do that same thing, and in the end, about the data of about 15 million people got compromised. And remember, your NIA card has literally everything about you. Your bank details, your SNIT registration, your bio, I mean your fingerprints, your eyelids, your mobile identity, your home address, and so on. How has the EC given us some assurance, or it is said, oh, you just come, you flash it, and once we see it, you go? Is it that they are not going to capture anything, even the number?
The NIA card is not the card to be used to vote.
I agree, but
you are only using it to obtain a voter's card.
Exactly, I understand. But the point I am making is that, as far as I know, there are certain data or forms that you fill in Ghana. All that you require is to input your Ghana card and your Ghana card number. And as soon as you input that, you get a pop-up that indicates your full name, your date of birth. And I believe if other things were required, your Ghana card number alone can reveal that.
All right.
The point I'm making is that, is it that you just go to a voting center, you flash your Ghana card, and they don't capture anything about your Ghana card to show that this is a proof of your identity? And if they would do, and what they would do is just basically your Ghana card number, what is the guarantee that the data that is going to be captured will be protected?
Okay.
Related to that is also this whole thing about continuous registration. And then there are other issues that we can talk about that. So I think the EC needs to progress quite cautiously. We understand that, yes, we want to clean the data and all of that. But if we are not careful, in doing so, we'll get ourselves into a mess. And the whole issue of disenfranchisement, as happened elsewhere, will be a major problem.
Okay, thank you. Now, I will engage Dr. Serebour Kwaku briefly and then come to the studio to hear from the duopoly. How I wish that these elections will get our own OB, our own somebody, OB, who will create a third force for us so that the duopoly doesn't take us for granted in the manner they continue to do. Yes, Dr. Serebour Kwaku, thank you once again. Now, the question that I want you first to deal with has to do with the fact that 6 months ago on this show, you were so damn sure that this 2.5 million mop-up, the NIA would have covered it before the end of 2022. Here we are in March. Of course, now money has been released. They didn't have money. Do you think you have sufficient assurance that all those who must get on the card will get on it and get their cards? And remember that we are using 2020 population census in all of this discussion. 2020, and we are in 2023. So a lot of things may have changed. And the population census, though a good measure, sometimes is not exact.
Samson, good morning, and my regards to Suleiman.
Right.
Tell him that I will arrest him after the program because he has not been looking for me. Samson, I'm happy that your presenters are all talking about clean register. So it means that they are in line with us. Let us also understand that the Electoral Commission has been given a mandate by our Constitution. And I stand up for those who drafted the Constitution as far as Electoral Commission's activities are concerned. And if they give the Commission an assignment to do, then they give the Commission all the powers that they need to implement them. So that if at the end of the day something goes wrong, they can now accuse the Electoral Commission that it did not take the right steps. And if you wouldn't mind, I want to take you through history. I joined the Commission in 1995. In 1995, I came to meet the CI 12, which was passed in 92. This was 95. And it listed a lot of identities, plus the guarantors. And this was CI prepared by the Electoral Commission at that time, depending on the variable identities and cards and the rest. Then in 2004, we came out another one. In 2016, we went biometric. That's why we deleted the health insurance because of the judgment. Then in 2020, we amended the CI91. So we have used CI12, CI72, CI91, CI126, and CI with a name to be given. And in all these things, steps are being taken to improve the sanctity of our register. So now, when we are going to compare the 2020 registration using the CI91, we amended the proof of eligibility portion and removed all the other things, and we were left with the Ghana card, passport, and guarantor system. Now, we believe that that helped us to reduce the level of infractions on the register. When you write an exam and you get a B, and you have a potential of getting a B plus or an A, you sit down, you do evaluation, they say, how bad do we get there? As I speak to you, Samson, media people, you can always investigate. You can contact immigration service. Every day they are bringing us 1 or 2 names of people who are foreigners and who went through our system. They will arrest them and bring their cards and bring it. So we read that the 2020 result was far improvement upon the previous ones. But still, it does not mean that there were no infractions. So we read that all those who went through, they are arrested, they are investigated, they went through the guarantor system. There are a lot of young ones, we have to spend a number of days to clean the register of the minors. And almost all of them, they went through the guarantor system. So we said that if the guarantor has become an albatross on us, then why don't we come out with another way of improving on it? Because we read that with the Ghana card, going through the process of getting it, the abuse will, I'm not saying it to be zero, but the abuse will be reduced drastically. They said, okay, going forward, we have spent money, resources, and time to clean the current one. Then let us not go through the same process and create a problem again. So now, let us make room for a new law that will help reduce the level of the infractions. Then let us introduce the Ghana card. Fortunately, Article 51 gives us the mandate. So we will only plead with everybody. Help us to implement the law and clean the system such a way that we will not be thinking of international register, but Ghana's voters register. So that's my preamble. Now, Samson, I'm listening. I'm now ready for the questions.
Right. So my first question. 6 months ago, you were certain that the 2.5 million people will be mopped up by end of year. That was the assurance you got from the NIA.
Right.
And I say that we are working with figures on the population and housing census of 2021. So
yes,
it's likely that even that number of people who are qualified, to go on the Ghana card and who would have qualified to also get registered as voters would have increased. Now,
yes,
how sure are you that NIA can deliver all the numbers left uncovered so that you will also, register those who are 18 and above?
Okay, thank you very much. If you have followed the NIA presentations, you read that including 15 years upwards, they have about 2.5 people to cover. Now, they were held up with the release of the Ghana card, and that was about 3.5. So they needed money to get these cards, and once they get them, they're saying that within 2 months, they will cover everybody. Now, from NIA, they have been given at least 100 million Ghana cedis, and with that amount, the held up cards, the 3.5 will be released to them. Now, if this happens, then they will cover the 3.5, which they are yet to cover, including 15 years, 16 years, 17 years. So I have, and the Commission has no doubt to believe that once the NIA has been met in terms of their requirements, the Prophet Tifa has said it over and over that they have the capacity and the capability to do the work once they have the resources. Now the resources have been given, so we are hoping that they will meet them. Let us also bear in mind that the 2.5 that we are talking about, it starts from 15 years upwards. The Electoral Commission's calculation based on the statistics available, we are only adding 2 million to the 17 million that we have. And these 2 million will be added from now to October 2024. So it means that NIA has 20 months, and Electoral Commission too has 20 months to cover these people. So now that the NIA has access to the cards, I don't think this one should be a problem. So what Ghanaians should rather help everybody is to engage the government so that all the resources that are needed at any point in time will be given. As far as the Electoral Commission is concerned, we don't have any problem because we are using our permanent staff. So we are not going to hire people to pay them. So we don't need any budget for us to roll out the control station and to capture the people.
Right.
It is the NIA, and once they have been given the resources, they should be able to do that.
Right. We will definitely see how that goes because the government owes in about $17 million, right? It owes about $117 million. If it has paid 100 million Ghana cedis now, which is just 1.4. It means that there's 1.36 billion that is left to be paid. How the government deals with that debt, we'll see how that goes. But here is the question. You say the main reason you want to do this is to avoid your guarantor system, which you say is porous and allows minors and foreigners, to participate and bloat the register so that unlawful, unqualified people are voting.
You're right.
The question that's been asked is, what's the difference really? Because people are also going to get the NIA card using a guarantor system.
Yes, but at least it increases the chain of abuse. It increases the chain of being able to abuse. Because if people are saying that NIA is using guarantor system and they can go there, so then the problem is addressed. Go through your guarantor system with the NIA. Now, but let us bear in mind that with the NIA, you are guaranteed, but you swear an oath before a commission of oath. In addition, the guarantors' biometric data are attached to your name. So at any point in time, they can identify you with your guarantors, which is different from that of the Electoral Commission. So if the guarantor system is available to the NIA, let the people who use the guarantor system get their Ghana card, and they will use the Ghana card to come and register. Okay. So it doesn't point any issue.
Do I take it that you are now abandoning your earlier arguments that the NIA system is where people can be punished if they falsely guarantee, and in your guarantor system? I'm saying that for a long time now, what the EC has told us is that with the NIA guarantor system, because you swear an oath before a commissioner for oath, you suffer consequences. But the fact is that when you swear, when you do the guarantor system through the EC, you also suffer consequences. It's just that perhaps you may not have been activating yours to punish those who use your guarantor system. So the next question, which is the
let me address that one.
Yes,
what
please.
I said is that with the NIA, you swear before a commission of oath. So it puts a form of fear before the applicant. In addition, the biometrics of the guarantors are attached to the one who has
that's understood. The biometrics that is attached makes the difference and not the consequences, because in your own law, you also swear and say that you bear the consequences that follow from false swearing, even though you are swearing before an EC person. Now,
Samson,
yes.
If I'm swearing before an ordinary person, the fear is not the same as swearing before a notary public, a commissioner of oath. So these are the people who are doing that. Now you are going to swear an oath before the commissioner of oath. That one puts some fear in the
okay.
So there's
I hear that, but from where I sit, I don't see what that difference that makes. If you swear falsely, once you are swearing an oath, and the law provides for that oath to be sworn, you must suffer the consequences, whether you are swearing it before a court or you are swearing it before an ordinary person.
I agree to that.
Right.
But I'm saying that for the applicant, the mere fact that they are swearing before a commission of oath tends to intimidate them comparatively.
Okay. Now, again, you have stress that this is to help you do a continuous registration system. The question that is being asked is that you have a law that allows you to do continuous registration. You have never used it. So what is the guarantee that now you will use a new law that is passed to allow you to do the same thing that you already have power to do?
Okay. Samson, now if you look at the law, if you compare the two, you realize that this one, the focus is on continuous registration. Unlike the previous one where you have other forms of registration, this one, the focus is on the continuous registration. In addition to that, this one helps in a sense that if we are going to roll out the continuous registration and we are doing registration specifically at the district offices, unless there's an exigency for us to go outside it. Now, whenever you're doing registration, the parties are there. If you have the guarantors, then the parties will be there always because they want to be there to guarantee and also to ensure that the right people apply. Now, if you are using only the Ghana card, then any party will get to know that I don't need to be there because there's a reliable form of identification. So going through the continuation with the Ghana card makes it easier for even the political parties. It will cut down their cost in the sense that initially they will want to observe, but they will get to the point that once you come, you don't need to be there to guarantee for anybody. You don't need to be there to be challenging people because people will be coming there with comparatively reliable form of identity.
Then I maybe ask you this lastly and come to the studio. How do you solve the problem of long distances to the registration centers that you are now going to use, and the possibility of confusing people as to their specific polling stations where they will be able to vote? I've heard the majority say that all of those are not issues. But interestingly, this is an issue that the NPP itself has raised before. In their written address in the 2012 election petition, and I'm holding a copy of the address in my hand here. On page 5, they raised one critical issue, and they said, one disturbing decision by the Electoral Commission was the registration of voters without assigning them to any polling station. An intriguing development was the announcement, it's okay, so I'll end it there. So the NPP have also had issues previously, but now they don't seem to have that issue. How do you solve that issue as well?
I don't know the court judgment on the issue that brought by the MPP when the 2012. I don't think the commission has ever registered people without assigning them polling stations. So I don't know the judgment that was given.
No, this is not the judgment. This was the MPP's address to the court before the judgment was delivered. And they raised the issue that one disturbing decision by the Electoral Commission was the registration of voters without assigning them any polling station.
And another one was that, did the court give a judgment on that? Because since I joined the commission, we have never registered anybody without assigning a person to a polling station. So I don't know how that one came from. Now, if you look at the current law, Samson, it says that the registration will be done at the district offices. In addition, the commission will do registration at other places as the situation demands. So clearly, we are aware of that. But something, is it not interesting that these very people we are talking about, when they finish JSS, they go to secondary schools, where the secondary schools are not within their settlements. But nobody complains about that. Something, anybody in Ghana who wants to travel outside the country goes to Accra to book a flight. Nobody has a problem. Anybody who wants to have other documents, they go to the district capitals to do that. There's no problem. But when it comes to electoral commission, then this time becomes a problem. But still, we know that I'm a village boy. So it is in the law that in addition to the district offices, electoral commission will do registration at other places, depending on the situation. So what our intention is that if you are an opinion leader, if you are an MP, if you're an assembly man, whoever you are, there's a distance between your community and that. You gather your people.
All right.
Give us the information that in my village, we have this number of people who are 18 years, but because of distance, they will not be able to travel. If you have to use 1 day or 2 days, we'll move a team there to come and capture you. So that issue is not an issue.
Okay, thank you. Now, let me come to the studio here. Sylvester Tete. Now, you know, I just made a certain reference. It's part of the NDC's concern. I don't know if he has addressed it to my audience now, but I don't know whether you are also not concerned about that they are going to district, centers to register, not their polling stations, not their electoral areas, and so on. The NDC says, first of all, there's an inconvenience. They may go there, some have to travel to the place. If they go and they are not captured that day, it means they have to go back, come back, and that can actually discourage, them from wanting to register to vote. But beyond that, identifying their polling stations may also become an issue. And I'm saying the NPP has raised this concern before. Why will it not be a concern for you today? And let me read the portion I read, where the NPP argued that one disturbing decision by the Electoral Commission, that is second respondent in that matter, was the registration of voters without assigning them any polling station. An intriguing development was the announcement to Parliament on 15th of June 2012 by the chairman of second respondent, that's the Electoral Commission, that the Electoral Commission had registered some 1 million voters who had not been assigned to any polling station. And they contended that this was contrary to Regulation 2 of the Public Elections Voters Registration 2012, which required that registration of voters be carried out in designated polling stations known for that purpose as registration centers.
Very well. Samson, good morning to your good self and my senior colleague, and to the good people of Botiano, English Yaman from, and a very good morning to Honorable Alan Kojo Tremantin. Supposed to have accompanied him to a funeral this morning, but for this important engagement, I'm here. I wish him well, and the team that is going with him, I wish all of them well.
Okay.
Yes. Samson, I think that after the pre-laying engagement in Parliament and subsequent media engagement, it is becoming clear that almost everybody that has had a bite of this particular decision by the EC agrees that we should have a credible register. And that is the cry of all of us. That is why we've traveled a journey of bringing reforms into our electoral processes by replacing opaque ballot boxes, by replacing a voter ID without a picture, a black and white picture, to the extent that we've got into a biometric voter register. And I think that nobody, both sides of the House, agrees that we need a credible register. However, there are concerns that they've raised, and if those concerns are not addressed, myself, I'll have issues to contend with the EC. And let me remind you that when the telcos or the Ministry of Communication issued a directive to the telcos or to the Ghanaian public that a deadline was set for people to have registered their SIM card re-registration. As a vice chairman of the Communications Committee, I spoke against it, and I said that you couldn't have done that when the source document for registration, it is obvious that a number of people do not possess the Ghana card, to the extent that the NIA at that
Some
time,
of them, even though they have registered.
they have not been issued their cards, to the extent that the NIA itself had said that their operations is not based on a deadline that could give all the cards to the Ghanaian public to be able to go and register. So you realize that there was no collaboration between the NIA and then the Ministry of Communication, or NCA for that matter, the implementing agency for that particular directive. So where we are, I spoke publicly against it. But in respect of this, on the face of the available data, it is obvious that what the NDC is doing is much ado about nothing.
I ask you a specific question.
Yes, specifically, I'm for a moment thinking that that particular response by the chair of the commission at the time, that over 1 million people were registered without being assigned to particular polling station. There is no evidence to back that.
Hey,
Samson.
This was the MPP saying it.
No, I'm saying that he was saying so on the basis of an answer Dr. Kojo Afarijan gave at the court. And I thought that, look, seriously speaking, how would one go to vote without being assigned to a particular polling station? Look, that particular trial exposed a lot of flaws in our electoral process. And even the answers offered by the electoral commissioner, it's where I was sitting at the time, it was obvious that he was speaking from a position of a confused person.
So the question is that this is now part of the concern of the NDC today.
For me,
because the people are not registering their polling stations.
Let me take you through this, and it's a practical example, and I believe my senior is well versed in this. There's been limited registrations at the district offices of the EC over time. And let us be clear that political parties has always been partners of the EC to ensure that we have a clean and credible register. So the processes of registration, we've always been part of it. That people who are not versed in the polling station, because every electoral voter's ID card you have has a polling station code and is unique. So one where you live within your constituency, if you are not aware and you get to the polling center and they ask you, where do you live? I live at Tuba. Where do you live in Tuba? The electoral officers, they have a code to every area. So the district electoral officer and officers there, they have every constituency, every polling station code specific to where you live, and they can assign you a polling station.
So this is not a problem?
It's not a problem. We've done this over time. Look, again, I asked the NIA boss that I'm aware that when they did the nationwide registration, the mass registration, there are cards that are still with them. And I raised this specific question on the floor of the House with respect to people having to travel distances to the district offices to register. And if for a reason they don't have money to come, because some districts you need to sleep over. It is not like Accra. There's districts in Ghana. A specific example is the Lembele, because my friend Bozuke has been a candidate for the MPP for 3 times. I've been there before, and I know most part of this country. Samson, there are district capitals that you need to take 2-3 cars to access the district capital. So if you get there and there's a problem, what it means is that you have to go back. And if you are not able to register, perhaps it costs you about 200 Ghana cedi, and you don't have 200 cedi. Or some district capital can only be accessed by market days, once in the week. So these are operational and practical problems. Then I asked the question, I asked the NIA boss, and he said, look, that is why the registration will not, if there's an ample evidence that people could be disenfranchised by reason of distance, the EC is prepared to move in there, or the NIA is prepared to move in there. I was on a show with Adaklu MP on a couple of platforms, and these concerns of cards that are still with the EC that have not been distributed, we asked it, and they explained. Looking at the data available before us, look, the 15 years and above eligible to be registered or captured by the NIA, 17 million plus of them have been registered. 16.9 million people are supposed to be on our voter register. The 17 million register that we have, over 10 million of them are already in the possession of a Ghana card. They use Ghana card as a source document to register. So what is the point now? Per the calculation of the EC, or the 2021 population and housing census, 31 million Ghanaians, we are estimating to have 2.5 million Ghanaians to be captured. And this includes even people 15 years and above. It is not all of them that will be eligible. If they are captured today, that will be eligible to vote in the 2024 elections. My daughter is 17, and she's already in possession of a voter's ID card. I'm waiting to be 18 and she go and register.
You mean national ID card?
The NIA card. Yes. My daughter is already in possession of the national NIA card. So she's just waiting to be 18. She goes to the district office and go and do her registration. So 2.5 million Ghanaians. What our opponent or our brothers from the other side, their worry, it's about the ability of NIA to capture 2.5 or let's say 3 million Ghanaians.
It's actually in excess of 3 million.
In excess of 3 million. Let's assume that it's even
3.6 or so.
3.6 or let's say 4 million Ghanaians. Between now and then October 2024, is the NIA able to do so or not? The NIA has demonstrated clearly that they will be able to do that. Unless there's an ample evidence to suggest they don't have capacity to do this.
When we say in excess of 3 million,
yes,
we are not referring to people who have not yet been captured. Some have been captured, but they don't have their cards yet.
Fantastic. Yes.
That's why the number comes
yes.
to.
The outstanding that are yet to be issued cards, we're told that 11 days, they will print all those cards. If the monies had hit the account, as requested, 100 million cedis has already been advanced to them. That's a laudable idea. In fact, when this...
You're not concerned that some of them, their cards had been ready or so, but for so many months, they remain with the NIA.
Yes, I'm concerned. And that's a specific question I asked the NIA boss, that you still have cards in your possession. Then he said, look, they are taking steps. Because you see, at the district office, when they did the mass registration, all the staff they used were temporary staff. And they had finished their exercise. Now they have 4 staff per district. So if they have to go to the polling stations again and deliver the cards, so now they can aggregate the card per district by district. And then per their address, we can assist them to distribute these cards to the people.
Okay.
That is what I think they should be doing. So I'm looking at the cleaner register that everybody will trust the process. Because look, if I go to my district office, I need not to put an agent there for the process of registration as we've been doing. There's been chaos. This guarantor system, there's been chaos. And fight after fight and all that we all witness every day. So when I go to my district office and there's a registration, maybe every month I go there. How many people have you registered? And you even see that on the EC website. Then you can demand for the source document and the proof of registration. It makes it easier.
Okay.
But where you are resorting to the grantor system, it is beset with a lot of fraud. That in the last registration, over 40,000 names had to be expunged. And you realize in 2008, somebody won the election with less than 40,000. That is a huge basis for contesting an election results in this country. So I believe that, look, if people have genuine concerns about the ability of the NIA, we've been assured enough that the NIA will have its funds to be able to deliver the cards on time. And mind you, we are not going to do a fresh registration to say that we'll have a problem. We are going to do a continuous registration. And this continuous registration will cure the fear of being disenfranchised if you turn 18. And my senior Imani, Kofi Bentel, said that even a day before elections, a day before election, that Article 48 they are quoting, and Article 51 also enjoins the EC to make regulations for every public elections. So we should not make it.
Kofi understands that, but he is talking about what is possible.
Yes.
That as a country, we should be able to get to that kind of ideal, where this thing is a seamless process. Once you turn 18, it doesn't matter. It's a day before election. You could just go register and,
Well, for what he's saying, that you don't even need to register at all. You have your Ghana card, you go and vote. But mind you, the Ghana card don't have some features the electoral register has. Constituency, electoral area, your polling station. It doesn't have. The Ghana card don't have it. All the Ghana card is seeking to do, the EC is seeking to do with the Ghana card.
So maybe in future we should get there.
Yes, if you are there,
right.
That's fine. So for that reason,
all right.
I will not buy the argument that we don't need regulations for purposes of elections.
Right.
And I think that the continuous registration will cure a lot of mischief.
Okay.
And then the political parties, we can all help in the
But
process.
that's the question I asked. Continuous registration. The law that created continuous registration, which year was it? Is it 2016?
2016.
Or so?
2016.
It created continuous registration.
I agreed with Harold.
We are in 2023. We haven't implemented continuous registration.
Yes, but you see, when you want to do continuous registration, you look at operationalization of it and the documents you require to do continuous registration. What it means is that political parties, I remember the political parties were making all this argument that we have to be present there because we don't trust, because assuming somebody is doing a guarantor system.
Okay.
I don't trust somebody could bust people. And the experience of expunging 40,000 people indicated that foreigners and minors were bused to the station.
Mama Yaga, the major concern, and as the EC posits, is to just do away with foreigners and minors. And we have come a long way where, both parties have agreed that our register has been bloated. We have people who are unqualified on the register. On the 15th of September 2008, the chairman of the Electoral Commission was on Joy FM, and he said that the voters' register was bloated, and he asked Ghanaians to help him to purge that register, before the December elections. This is what he said. He said, if our population is indeed 22 million, then perhaps 13 million people on our register would be statistically unacceptable by world standards. If that is the case, then it may mean that there is something wrong with our register. Let me say that at the end of the day, the register is as good as the stakeholders are prepared to accept it. I underline that. The register is as good as the stakeholders are prepared to accept it. Why are you not ready to accept this when you agree that the Ghana card is the means to a clean society? Afrajan continued that if they think there is nothing wrong with the register, that is fine. If they think there is nothing wrong with the register, they buzzed the people, they sent the children, they invited the foreigners to come and participate in this. If they think that is okay, what else could we use? We have to use a register, and that is the register that we will use. So this is what we are seeking, isn't it?
Well,
Clean the register.
I've listened to your various contributors this morning, and I've listened to my colleague here. And I come to this discussion from a number of perspectives. And I'm happy that you are a lawyer and you are hosting this program, so perhaps it might be easier for me to make the arguments. One, in law and lawmaking, I'm sure you remember your basic first year jurisprudence. If you want to make a law or you want to change a law, usually the first basic thing is, what is the problem that you are seeking to make a law?
The mischief to be cured. Or the lacuna to fill.
That's the basic underlying question that normally we would ask you. That's the first question. First year basic jurisprudence. So we asked the Electoral Commissioner, you want us to change your law. So, okay, what mischief are you seeking to address? So, I have a problem with my register because I use a guarantor system to generate some of the registrants. And there could be some problem there because people who are not qualified could slip through and get onto the register, and that affects the integrity of the register.
She says, in fact, thousands have slipped through and they have had to delete them.
Yes. And then we said, do you have any evidence? Yes, actually we even deleted 40,000 from the last registration of about 16 million people that we did. And then additional data about some non-Ghanaians. The 40,000 really were largely infants, not non-Ghanaians, but people who were not up to the 18 years of age. So because of the guarantor system, this is how these people got in. So your problem is that your guarantor system enables those not qualified to get on the register. That's your problem. Say yes, okay. So what is your solution? Oh, my solution is now say that anybody who wants to come and register should bring a Ghana card. Unless you bring a Ghana card, we will not use any mechanism to determine that you are a citizen. So really, so okay, good. So we asked, okay, so the Ghana card, how do they generate the Ghana card? And then we pointed out to her that, do you know that the person producing the Ghana card also uses a guarantor system? Do you know that first in 2000, when we passed the law establishing the National Identification Registry, we did not make provision for them to use a guarantor system. It was tight. They had to look for primary source documents, birth certificates, baptismal documents, so many other sources of data, IDs of parents and whatnot, to enable them to deduce your citizenship from these primary sources. But they found it difficult. So they came back to us in Parliament in 2008 and asked us to amend their law so that they will do what you are doing today, which is to also have a window open to them so that they can use a guarantor system. So how is it that they are using a guarantor system to produce a card, and we have given you the opportunity to also use a guarantor system to compile a register of citizens for purpose of voting? You are asking us to abolish your guarantor system and use only this card, which is also a product partly of a guarantor system. Can you reconcile the logic of your proposal to us and the mischief that you say you are trying to remedy? That fundamentally is the issue at stake here for us as a minority. And her only answer was that, oh, the guarantor system of the NIA is more robust. We said, really? Says, okay, we are willing to concede that the guarantor system of the NIA is more robust. So let's change your law so that your guarantor system will be the same as the guarantor system of the NIA. Case closed. I thought they should end the discussion.
Should it?
If really, genuinely, her problem is that her guarantor system is open to abuse. So she wants to rely on the guarantor system of the NIA. Because the NIA is using the guarantor system to also produce the cards. And she wants to rely on those cards.
She has explained to you what she means by that being robust.
And I'm saying that, yes, so we don't have a problem.
And what did she tell you?
We passed the two laws.
What did she tell you what makes it robust?
I didn't even want to go. I know where your question you wanted to answer, but I just didn't think that. I see, the more I talk about this, frankly speaking, the more I'm compelled to present Jean Mensah in a negative light. And she was my senior at the law faculty. I've known her for years, and she's a lawyer. So sometimes some of the things that she says, I ask myself, is it because she hasn't been practicing for a while, or why is she not paying attention to detail? She said that her guarantor system is not as robust as the NIA guarantor system. Why? Oh, because they swear an oath. I said, really? Have you read the NIA law? You haven't even read it. If you've read it, you wouldn't be saying what you are saying. The NIA law makes provision for two guarantor arrangements. There is a guarantor arrangement by parents. It doesn't make provision for commissioners of oaths. They only on oath guarantee. So if a mother or a father who is holding a Ghana card
approaches NIA with his 19-year-old son and says, my son needs a Ghana card, and this is my card which shows that I'm a citizen. This is his birth certificate which shows that I'm his father. So he's a citizen. So I guarantee for my relative. It could even not be my son, it could be my nephew, my niece. I guarantee for him because I can show that I'm a citizen, and because by the citizenship laws of Ghana, if either of his parents is a citizen, he is also a citizen. I guarantee, and you get it. The second set of guarantor system, which requires the use of the commissioners of oaths, is why the person doesn't have a relative.
Yes.
The law says that if his relative,
yes. So the first one you spoke about is about relative, not parents.
Relatives, yes.
Not parents. Okay.
Yes, not,
all right.
Relatives, and of course, parents are relatives.
Of course.
You understand?
Okay.
That's why I started with parents, and I now went to nephews and nieces and etc.
Oh, really?
So the issue is, for relatives, they don't even need the intervention of a commissioner of oaths. It is where the relatives are unknown. That is in the NIA Act. Then it is commissioners of oaths that he must swear to. Are you getting the situation before? And they guarantee. So clearly, she didn't even read the legislation before coming up with such a very serious proposal. But in her guarantor system, if she says there's a flaw, and I listen to them all the time, their concern or their flaw is the fact that one person can guarantee for 5 people. Okay? A registered voter, a card-bearing registered voter, can guarantee for other 5 people. So they say these people have turned themselves into registration or guarantee contractors, guaranteeing for others. So that is where they say there's a loophole. But the requirement of guaranteeing on oath is also in the Electoral Commission guarantor system.
But in the case of the NIA,
yes,
in all situations where someone has to vouch for the next person,
yes,
you will have to swear before a commissioner for oath.
No. It just says that on oath. I get the point. But in the case of the person whose parents and relatives are not known, that is where the commissioner for oath is mandatory. You can just because I use it on my list, I'll read it to you. But please
do look it up quickly.
Yes, in the Electoral Commission, CI 126, and the Form A, okay, Form 1 attached, it makes provision for the person guaranteeing to guarantee on oath. You guarantee on oath, and that if it turns out that you have falsely guaranteed, you are ready to suffer the penalty. So both of them, the oath is a critical component of the guaranteeing mechanism. Look, be that as it may, we in the minority told her, okay, if you say that the guarantee mechanism of NIA is more robust, can we just lift that and put in your laws so that you use the same guarantee mechanism? But don't close the doors to Ghanaians and say that they must use a Ghana card, because the reason why you are running away from your system, the Ghana card also suffers from that, which is that there is a guarantee mechanism also in the process of generating the Ghana card. So for me, this should settle the debate. But there's something more fundamental. And I think that people are missing that point. I want to make that point today.
Before the fundamental, I don't want us to forget that the NIA system that you speak about, I need to be sure, because
I can read it.
As we understand now, whilst reading it is important, what has happened on the ground, as we know, is that in all instances where there has to be vouching, it is done before a commissioner for oath. And when they were doing the mass registration,
so they then went and employed commissioners of oaths.
Yes,
they got thousands.
They got the judicial service
and assigned them to every registration center.
Yes, and so as we speak now, they have them in all their offices.
We in the minority are saying that, be that as it may, if you say your guarantor system is weak and that the NIA guarantor system is robust, we are ready to amend your law so that the same guarantor mechanism that the NIA uses, you also use it.
Yes.
So that you don't deny.
But there's one thing you are not getting to, which is that, and as I mentioned to Dr. Shribo Kwaku, earlier, this was the argument we heard the EC advancing. But now we have heard them add a layer to that argument. And that sounds reasonable and justifiable.
Which one?
That's beyond the consequences that you suffer for false, witness, so to speak. Which I put to him that as far as I'm concerned, there's no difference whether you are swearing before whoever it is. In the EC's CI 91, it says that I will bear the consequences of doing a wrong thing if you are guaranteeing. But now what they are adding to it is that in the NIA, guarantor system, your biometrics, the biometrics of the person guaranteeing for you, the biodata of the person guaranteeing for you is attached. So if there's trouble, it's easy to identify that person. But in the EC's own, it does not include their biodata, the guarantor's biodata. So you may not find the person.
So you're saying that the NIA system, the EC system, doesn't have enough provisions in terms of the identity of the people they are registering for them to be able to locate you if they need you. They give your name and your house number and the basic information that they normally fill in the forms, your community, your polling station, and etc.
Exactly. This is what is provided there.
Yes.
This is what it provides in the EC's Act, Schedule 1, Form 1. It says that voter registration identification guarantee form. In support of voter registration 4, the name of the applicant, voter registration form number, registration center code, registration center name, guarantor's particulars. This is what the guarantor will give. Guarantor's name, guarantor's relationship to the applicant. If you are a parent, spouse, whatever, then you provide your contact number, that's phone number. You provide your voter ID number, polling station code, polling station name, your signature or thumbprint. And then you come to say that I solemnly swear or affirm that I know so and so is qualified to register as a voter at the above named registration center. I solemnly swear or affirm that I know so and so is qualified to register as a voter at the above named registration center. And should it come out as false, I bear the consequences. Then, so that's what they are saying, that the NIA one, it contains the biodata of the guarantor, where this one does not contain the biodata of the guarantor. So it's easier, it's more reliable.
I mean, I'm scandalized to hear some of these arguments, because so far as I'm concerned, these are just insignificant and unimportant arguments. They're just struggling to hang on to something. Because when you register somebody, you take basic information about the person, name, address, basic information that if you are looking for the person, you hand it over to the police. It is their job to look for the person and find him. So you can't tell us, oh, because it will be difficult for you to look for the person. Are you the one looking for the person? It's the Ghana police that are looking for the people. Have Ghana police told that if you give us the name of somebody and his passport photograph, which you have taken, and basic data about the person in your register,
why don't you make it easier for them? Because as they insist.
Listen carefully. The point we're making is that these arguments are insignificant. They are major. Well, I'm talking about what the Electoral Commissioner came and told us in Parliament, and he was there.
Okay.
She said that it is because the guarantor system is subject to abuse. I have the law. I want to read it to you.
Right.
I want to read it to you.
Yes.
Because I wasn't paying attention. I was just looking for the law.
Right.
Read it to you. Section 8 Section 3 of the amendment to the National Identification Register reads as follows. Section 8 of the principal enactment is amended, B, by the substitution for subsection 2 of 2, where an applicant is unable to submit any of the documents specified under subsection 1. And the documents specified under subsection 1 include birth certificate, valid passport, valid residence permit, valid certificate of acquired citizenship, and any other information as may be required by the authority. These are the documents that the NIA uses to issue a card to a Ghanaian, a birth certificate, a valid passport, a valid residence permit. That is for, because they also give cards to residents, non-Ghanaian residents. And then a valid certificate of acquired citizenship. I was going to get to that argument. So these are the documents the NIA requests for. Apart from all the things about your address, your days, your biometrics, in terms of documents, these are what they look for. So B says that by the substitution for subsection 2 of where an applicant is unable to submit any of the documents specified under subsection 1, the authority shall require a relative of the applicant to identify the applicant under oath. Are you getting the point?
Under oath. That's what I'm saying. I'm
saying
to you
yes, and I'm saying
that in all the instances.
Yes, and I'm saying that
in all the instances,
yes,
the commissioner for oath is involved.
The oath-taking mechanism, is that okay? Of the A and B, you see the difference. You just see the difference. B, two persons determined by the board to identify the applicant under oath. Is that okay?
Yes.
Where the applicant has no known relatives. It is pursuant to B, okay, that they now recruited,
if you have a relative, you will swear. The relative will still swear.
Yes.
If you do not have relatives, the board will make a determination of 2 persons, and you still they will also swear.
So that is
oath is involved in all instances.
No, yes, not for oath. Is that okay? Oath is just if I swear that. And you listen.
And the NIA
yes
insists that the oath you must take before them must be before a commissioner for oath.
And I'm saying that. That's what they are saying. The law doesn't say so.
Okay. But listen, the law is clarified now. It's clarified now. That's what they do.
The law doesn't say so. But they put in place the mechanism. And I told you that there's a distinction between 2 mechanisms, one by relatives and the other where they have recruited commissioners of oaths.
And my point was that in either situation, you still have to swear the oath as a guarantor. And the oath is sworn before commissioner for oath.
And we said, and I'm saying that the first one that under oath, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily mean that you swear an oath before what they call a commissioner of oaths. Are you getting the situation? Because under oath can mean I swear. You know that.
No, but
you know that I swear.
The mechanics for that oath has been established by the NIA. So I think that's not the point we can argue over now.
That's a fine question of law.
Right.
And I'm saying that even in the form 1 of CI 126.
That point is made.
Is that okay?
Yes.
It also says that you swear an oath.
That's right.
That you are guaranteeing properly for somebody.
Right.
So in all cases, both that of the EC and the NIA, there is an oath-taking mechanism.
Yes, but now they are taking it a notch higher, and they say your biometric and biographic data is included in this oath taking, which makes this one a better enhanced.
No, it's not in the oath
taking. In this guarantee system.
No,
in this guarantee system.
Listen. Which
is an enhanced, which is robust.
No.
My substantive question to you. This is my substantive question to you.
Yes.
The NIA is doing a national identity register.
Yes.
It has this system.
Yes.
Why should we duplicate the cost? Because you turn 15.
Okay.
And you'll be entitled to go get a card from National Identification Authority, where you take this oath. Why should we make that provision in the EC's law, duplicating the cost? Why should we do that?
I'm happy that you, a lawyer, you've asked this question, because that was the second issue I was going to. You see, there's something very fundamental, which is that there is a constitution which binds all of us. And that constitution says that anybody who is 18 years of age and above and of sound mind is entitled to be registered. Okay? And then says that the Electoral Commission shall be responsible for elections and the preparation of a register for the elections.
Making regulations for the...
To prepare, to actually compile the register is their constitutional responsibility.
Okay.
And then they can make regulations. And more fundamentally, it says that the Electoral Commission shall not be under the control and direction of anybody. Under the control and direction of anybody. Now, when you have a system, there are two legs of my argument. Let me take one and then add the other.
We spent quite some time.
So yes. I listen. You spend 1 hour on those people, our colleagues on television, radio, and then what do you call it?
No, we didn't spend an hour.
I was monitoring.
Each one of them spoke for 7 minutes.
I was monitoring.
Each one spoke for 7 minutes.
But we started around 10 o'clock.
I've been working with the time.
We started around 10 o'clock.
Each one of them spoke for 7 minutes.
But let me make the argument because you asked the question. Now, why do you want a mechanism that undermines the independence of the Electoral Commission by predicating their capacity to carry out their constitutional responsibility on the outcome of the work of an agency that is under the control of the executive arm of government? That should ring a bell. Because you know that when you are making a law,
Parliament doesn't
you have the proverbial bad man in mind when you are making a law. If you say that, unless you get a Ghana card, you will not come and then be registered as a voter by an independent constitutional body. And the NIA person, proverbially, is a bad man and a bad NDC man. Let me start from there. If I say MPP, you will start making all sorts of noises. Let's say a bad NDC man. Do you know what he will do? If he doesn't want people in Ashanti region and Eastern region to have an accurate voter register, what will he do? He will make sure that the registration exercise for NIA in Eastern and Ashanti region is not effective, it's not efficient. People go there with...
So that's a different issue.
So it's a different issue.
It is what you have...
That's a different issue.
Let me make a last point on this. Let me make my last point. Let me make my last point. Let me make my last point on this one, please.
I listen. Look, he spoke for a long time.
No, he didn't.
You asked me questions.
If I told you how long you have
questions.
How many minutes did I speak? You've spoken more than twice my time.
There are very fundamental questions.
But we are working with time.
Yeah,
please.
But then if you don't want to have the discussion, then we should...
You don't have all the time.
Yes.
You don't have all the time.
No.
To be frank with you, please let him end. To be frank with you,
it's a fundamental question.
To be frank with you, you have spoken for more than twice anybody has spoken so far.
It's a fundamental question.
The time
you are
anybody has
asking me
spoken.
very crucial questions. And we can go and check the records. The most important thing is that you cannot predicate the exercise of an independent constitutional body's functions on the outcome of the work.
That's what I
solely,
different argument.
Solely on the outcome of the work of an executive arm that is subject to the control of the interior minister. It doesn't happen. If you do that, you are endangering the independence and the integrity of the outcome of the work of the Electoral Commission.
Let me make this.
And then secondly, there's a constitution that says that everybody who is a citizen, 18 years of age and above, is entitled to be registered. The primary responsibility of the Electoral Commission is to identify whether or not the person is a citizen.
Yeah, but we are curing that mystery is being cured. When you bask people and go and guarantee for them, does that constitute...
The Electoral...
Please hold on.
Where you are going...
Please hold on. Dr. Sribokoko, you wanted to make an intervention.
I want to make a quick intervention on this one.
Dr. Sribokoko, you wanted to make an intervention. Please unmute your mic. Please unmute your mic. We are waiting for you to make the intervention. Okay, all right. So he looked like he was paying attention to us. I don't know. Okay, so
my last argument.
Sorry.
I mean, unless you are closing the debate on
I don't want to go and come back to this issue. I want to take a break. We don't come back to this issue anymore. We have only 2 minutes to 11 o'clock. Let me give you a minute.
It's obvious that the NDC can foresee their election rigging machinery will come to an end, and that's the only reason why they are fighting this with all their strength. But let me tell you, Samson, look, practically, go to EC limited registrations and even registrations for general elections in this country. When somebody comes to register, the political parties, they will just take the ID numbers of the registrants, even without their consent. And the registration officials will be using as a guarantor to guarantee for people. We've gone through all this and we know how these things have been working. And we are saying that never again. Like you said, duplication of duties of state institutions. I wonder why my senior brother, colleague, will say that NIA is under the control of the executive. For that reason, if you are using NIA card, let me remind you of National Registration Regulations of 2012, 2111. It was done when they were in government. And they made a national identification card as a sole document for registration obtained.
Please. Not sole. Not sole.
Not sole. It's not SHA. The operative word was SHA.
Please. Let's read it.
Please, it's there. The operative word is SHA.
Let's read it.
The operative word is SHA. And the EC is relying.
Dr. Sribo, thank you. Dr. Sribo Kwaku.
Please.
Sorry, Dr. Sribo Kwaku. Yes.
Let's read it.
Let's hear you now. Your mic is off, Dr. Sribo Kwaku. Your mic is off. Good. We can hear you now. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let's hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you. Go ahead, please. I can hear you. Please speak. Okay, something needs to be resolved. Just a minute. I don't want to come back to this issue again. Just a minute to Bentel and Suleimana. A minute each, please. What will you say in conclusion? Actually, my very final question to Mama Yaga was the fact that the Atuforcing was saying that the demand they are making is for an independent validation of the NIA's figures of registered persons before a decision may be taken if the Ghana card will be used. So in that direction, you can tell that if something is done, the NDC will not be opposed.
Right. Samson, if I may go first.
Yes, please.
Good. So, again, Newsfile time, so we can't explain everything. So I'm going to make the points. Hopefully, we'll get to a point we can explain it. Number one, the whole point that the NIA has better legislation and has better information, biometric, etc., beyond the EC is not tenable. The EC's laws are not inferior to the NIA's laws. Indeed, if the EC wants, it can collect biometrics and it can track people who do the guarantee. And I think Honorable Ayariga has said a lot about that. In fact, the EC can restrict the guarantee to parents or relatives. So, in short, the EC's law as it is not inferior to the NIA in that regard. However, I am one of the people who is of the view that the EC should stop registration. The time when we allowed or made the law for the EC to do registrations, we didn't have an NIA. The NIA now is the authority for registration. The EC should build a system to use the NIA's information. And if there's any capacity to build on the on registration systems, we should build it in NIA and let EC use it. So indeed, let me conclude and say, on this matter, the NDC's arguments are superior to the MPP's arguments. But if they want to do so, they can go ahead and do it, and they all just have to be vigilant. But the arguments being advanced are not tenable.
Why are we equating the Ghana card registration system to these systems that are in silos and amenable to even men of God holding double identities, double names, double parents, and so on.
Again, so there is a huge issue there. But again, because of Newsfile time, I don't think we can go there. But let me put it this way. My MP was saying, oh, why are we talking about all? We need to get to the point where, indeed, the EC will not need to do registration. We need to get to the point. If both of them are taking biometrics, etc., we need to get to the point where, indeed, if his daughter turns 18, all they need to do is to present themselves and their Ghana card at the polling station. Indeed, I dare say that we need to get to the point where nobody is tied to a particular voting or polling station. Because we do transfers, and transfers, if I may make this point, if we have a biometric system and it works, everybody should be able to or can only vote once. You can't vote again. So the system is such that it should clean up itself. And we should get to the point where we are not doing easy registration and NIA registration.
Yes,
NIA registers if he uses the registration.
Yes, Sule. Hello, Suleimana.
Yes, Samson.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. I think I would want to start by saying that, yes, we want integrity of our electoral roll, the voters register, but that is as important as the integrity of the institution that manages the electoral roll. In other words, the EC's own integrity is as important as the data, the electoral register. The
EC's register is known to be bloated all the time. Even the ECs themselves have admitted to the bloatedness. I'm referring to Afarijan. I'm referring to Charlotte Osei. I'm referring to Jean Mensah. She just told us about 40,000 names cleared off. So if we have a system that can avoid all of these, what is the problem?
Well, I think something, if I'm right,
NIA registry, you can enter only once. No, that's what you just used to show this, you know, I don't want to name names.
But what evidence is there that NIA has never registered a non-Ghanaian?
Because there's no evidence that not non-Ghanaian. If you are registered as a non-Ghanaian, you are designated as
no. If you are registered a non-Ghanaian as a Ghanaian citizen and issue the person a card as a
so far, there's no evidence to the contrary.
It's because we haven't investigated that.
That the NIA system.
I'm telling you.
With about how many?
I come from a border constituency.
16 or is it 13?
I come from a border constituency.
So you see why
13 security processes.
I'm saying I come from a border constituency.
If you breach that, then what else? Yes, Sule, let's hear you.
I come from.
Yes, Sule, let's hear you.
It's very easy.
So the point I'm making is
it's very easy.
We need to work towards improving the systems. But 2020 election voter register compilation, what we were told is that we want to clean the register, and that is what we are doing.
Right.
We limiting even the eligibility to just a passport and the guarantor system.
Okay.
I would make is that if it is not broken, be cautious about fixing it. And I think that is the point that the EC must be aware of. It's been done elsewhere and it hasn't worked. So why are we so sure that in our case it will work? And I've pointed to areas where these things started decades ago. Again, so far, I don't think that there has been any comprehensive analysis that points to the fact that over the years, we have had electoral outcomes that are on the basis of having ineligible voters on the register. If the EC has that, I think it would be good to learn about it. That, well, as the EC chairperson says, we want to ensure that it is only Ghanaians who are qualified that determines who become the leaders of our country. But I don't know if in the past we have had situations where our president or MPs have been elected based on, or largely based on having ineligible persons on the voters register.
Okay.
And the various arguments that have been made so far, in my view, are untenable, and we need to proceed with a lot of caution.
Okay, thank you very much. But I believe that when we come to a point to seek to impeach the NIA system without evidence, we will be destroying a very good thing. This is a system that, as we know it, has 16 different systems. And I think about 7 data security systems.
Of doing what?
Of making sure that your data...
Mention the one after the other. Let's start.
Okay, so let me take the 6 data security systems. We don't have time. All user biometric data is collected.
Yes.
You have
all registration.
Let me respond to all registration records have unique MAC addresses, and the interviewer and operator IDs are attached.
Yes.
The data is transmitted from mobile registration workstation via a secure network. You have data that is encrypted during the transmission. Then 5, you have data storage that is mirrored on a central server. You have transactions that are automatically copied to disaster recovery sites to preserve the data, and you have data that is backed up every day. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. We'll be right back to go and question the issues as regards the John Mahama's promises as he launches his campaign. Thank you. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis program, and here on Newsfile we always put Ghana first. Okay, so my guests, those that you have been listening to so far, have been Dr. Sribo Kweku, who unfortunately had a problem with his line, his Zoom. He's the Electoral Services Director, Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission. Suleiman Abrahima is Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. Kofi Bentel is lawyer and Senior Vice President, Imani Africa. Mahama Yarga is MP, Boku Central, and member Constitutional, Legal, and Parliamentary Affairs Committee and delegate, ECOWAS Parliament. And Sylvester Tete is MP, Botiano, English, Amanfo, and Vice Chairman of the Communications Committee of Parliament. As for that one, he has indicated it this morning in a very nice way. Okay, so he says, of course. Okay, so just a couple of messages. And Kwame says that I'm looking forward to that day where on matters of national importance we can bring persons other than politicians to share ideas on how to move this country forward.
We don't have any
but the other two who spoke,
politicians don't have any idea in this country anymore.
I see. We also have Kweku Nchibu. He says that the NIA is responsible for identity registration and management. The EC is not. The EC should not have to worry about the identity registration of the voter or the guarantor. The EC should not have to worry about that. Okay. All right, there are a couple of messages. Unfortunately, I'm unable to share some of them. This one from Clement Apak, Dr. Clement Apak. He says that Jean Mensah says one of the reasons for her proposal to use the Ghana card is to prevent minors and foreigners from registering to vote. She told us in Parliament that 40,000 minors and foreigners were expunged from the existing register. Good. How many of the 40,000 were minors and how many were foreigners? Question. How come these acts of crime have not been prosecuted? There is no law that says that the Ghana card is the only or sole ID for the purposes of registering. That's a law that you are seeking to be passed now. Yet that was what Jean Mensah tried to suggest to us in Parliament. And how can anyone suggest that nationality is determined by identity card? No, it's determined by birth. By parentage and naturalization. Musa in Kuma in Asawase says, how Honorable Sly, it says, Honorable Sly is confused more than the EC. The people registered without assigning them polling stations was established during election petition. So Sly, against his own party, well, I asked him that question because the MPP stated that as a matter of fact. If the EC thinks using only Ghana card as a means of identification will help MPP, then they are wrong. They should rather make MPP membership card as a sole document for identification. Oh, some of you. Then independent presidential candidate Jacob Osei-Yeboah says that at what point will the guarantor system end? Is it going to be in perpetuity? He answers, no. EC from 2022, from 1992, uses the existing laws and LI to identify a Ghanaian to be enrolled on the voter register. EC has never been the direct identifier of who a Ghanaian is. We need to understand this. It is in the interest and cost-effective for EC to have made this decision. If the EC is using NIA biometric data, one does not need a voter ID with that technology. Your fingerprints can easily be identified for EC to enroll you onto the register. If it is one thing being identified as a Ghanaian, and it is another thing to create the biometric voter register. His message continues, but this is where I can end it. Okay, so I think I can pause here. There are so many messages that you are sending in because of this matter, and we actually appreciate how this matter is so important to you. That's why we allow the time to run, and we are in the last hour. I'm directed to take these last messages. Peter Doe Jr. says, EC's current register is biometric, same as NIA. So who comes to EC registration center whose biodata isn't already with EC to vouch for a relative? Because we all know, before you can vouch for someone, you must be a Ghanaian and also a registered voter. Kofi says the EC register is also biometric. One cannot guarantee for another if the former or the guarantor is not a registered voter. The EC is not convincing us. Mayobi Nene says the point the EC raises on biodata is false. Biodata is always taken from us when registering for voters' ID. If you therefore tie the prospective voters' details to the guarantor, it should serve same purpose the NIA guarantor system serves. Selom says, but the voter ID, the guarantor presents his or her biodata with the EC. The EC should respect the citizenry. Okay, so far, all these four messages are saying the same thing. Edutete says EC takes all biodata of every registered voter. So if a guarantor's voter ID is taken to register new person, then the voter ID of the guarantor should have his or her biodata already taken. Therefore, it's false to say the guarantor biodata won't be available. Okay, so all the five messages seem to say, or they are actually straightforward in saying the EC, what I call the EC's added on justification for using the NIA's guarantor, believing or relying on the NIA's guarantor system is faulty. All right, now let's move on, shall we? And as you know, this has been a busy week where the political season is actually getting into, some crescendo, if you like. As we have the NPP presidential hopefuls crisscrossing the country and seeking to pitch for votes, the NDC has also begun. And for the NDC, I think, okay, they are picking form, so they are not candidates yet. So President Mahama has also done so. But he's launched his campaign, and what attracts attention the more is a few promises that he has made. Let's listen to him and come to check if these are bold reforms he intends to do, or it is what you call the usual empty rhetoric to get votes.
We will initiate and undertake the most far-reaching constitutional, political, and governance reforms under the Fourth Republic, which will be aimed at restoring confidence in our democracy and governance systems while making life easier and better for the people of Ghana. In response to the concerns and calls from many of you, we will initiate and undertake the most far-reaching constitutional, political, and governance reforms. that will restore confidence in our democracy. We'll continue and bring to conclusion the constitutional review process that was begun by the late President Atta Mills, which will include a review of the controversial Article 71 to reduce the number of office holders under Article 71 and reduce the disparities in privileges and emoluments vis-à-vis the public sector and civil service. The payment of ex gratia to members of the executive under Article 71 will be scrapped. In the history of the Fourth Republic, it is the NDC that has provided the most roads, water, electricity, educational, health, telecommunications infrastructure across the length and breadth of this country. It was the NDC that took the decision that every region of Ghana must have a public university. And that is why today we have University of Health and Allied Sciences here. We must clean the Augean stables and rid them of the filth and corruption. The anti-corruption institutions will be given unfettered access to do their work. The days of the infamous clearing agents will be well and truly over. To ensure efficiency and professionalism in this endeavor, institutions of states will be empowered to work independently without interference.
The next person is also a brother from Kumau. Oh, Dr. Dufour. Have you won your seat before? Charity begins at home. Have you won it before? Who should do the monkey job for you to become a president of this country? And he's also my brother. I am an Ashanti, you know, Dufour. He's from Kumau. You have never won it. Never have you won the regional chairman. So you see, the campaign, after I finish with them, the campaign is finished. You don't waste your time. And let's come to Kwajo Bonsu, Ose Bonsu. He is from Offenso. I'm wondering why the Ashantis are so eager to become president when they are not doing their homework well. But it's a good brain, you know. The three of them can win the 3 seats for us. Charity begins at home. Go there and win the seat for us before we can think about you. But if you don't do it and you are showing your face, you are just giving us troubles.
John Mahama coming back is an old story. It's not a new story that Ghanaians should be thinking about. John Mahama is saying that he's come to repair Ghana. Actually, no one from the MPP is saying that Ghana is not facing the challenge. We know we have economic crisis. But I have already been saying that it's better for Ghanaians to be in MPP government than to be an NDC.
All right. So, I think I'll start with you, Mama Yarga.
Yeah.
So the focus this morning is, of course, people knew that he will contest, you know, and he's launched his campaign, but the focus this morning is the promise to deal with Article 71. No more ex gratia for you too. You won't get ex gratia. And he says he will run the leanest government in this country's history. Why should anybody believe him?
Well, I believe him, and I know he listens to advice, and I can relate this to you. I've never said this publicly, but I can relate this to you. If you recall, when President John Dramani Mahama started his government in 2013, if you recall. I was his Minister of Information and Media Relations. You recall that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you recall, when I was reshuffled out of the Ministry of Information and Media Relations and taken to Ministry of Youth and Sports, the Ministry of Information was collapsed, okay, and merged with Ministry of Communication in order to reduce the number of ministries. It was based on my personal advice to him that I didn't think that we should have an independent, separate Ministry of Information and Media Relations, and that you could effectively fuse the work of the Ministry of Information and the Ministry of Communication and still achieve, the same or even better results. And he listened to that advice. So if you recall, he collapsed the Ministry of Information and Media Relations. And I think until we left office, we didn't have a separate Ministry of Information. It was Minister of Communication. And the deputies who were with me at the Ministry of Information were sent to Minister of Communication to handle the media relations work. So this is somebody that I know at a very personal level that he believes in those issues and he understands that it is possible to collapse ministries and merge them and restructure government in such a way that you could run the country with a leaner government. So I can identify with his promise that yes, I think we can run the country with.
Do you have an idea what he means by a lean government? President Akufo-Addo, seemed to have suggested something, and when he came in, a lean government meant 126 ministers.
Well, he is specific. He says a lean government
says the leanest government.
Yes, the leanest government shouldn't exceed 60 ministers, and that's what John Mahama has said.
It shouldn't exceed 60 ministers.
He has given a specific figure. It could actually be less. If you ask me, I can tell you that I believe that you could run this country with far, far less number of ministers. I personally believe that you could run this country because I tell people that over the years, our governance arrangement has been reconfigured. You take a ministry, you find out that the job of the ministry, the actual substantive work of the sector is controlled by agencies, authorities, commissions, and parastatals under it. So the ministry as an entity is often really not a busy place. And so you talk to a lot of the deputy ministers, and they complain bitterly that my minister is not giving me a job. Sometimes I laugh when I hear those things. Having been a minister myself before, I know that the reality is that there's no work to be done by the minister. That's why he hasn't passed much to you. Because a lot of the work is done. Let's say you go to Ministry of Energy, you find out the Petroleum Commission is doing a lot of the work, okay? You find out the NPA is doing a lot of the work. You find out the Utilities Regulatory Commission is doing a lot of the work. You find out that GNPC is doing a lot of the work. You find out that Ghana Gas is doing a lot of the work. So in the end, the minister's workspace gets so limited just to policy issues. And so you can run this country with far less, ministers than we presently have.
So the question is, he had the opportunity. Why now?
Well, I gave you an example of when I worked with him, how we collapsed 2 ministries into 1, okay? The situation is even more dire now in the sense that look at our ballooning debts. Look at the problems we have with mobilizing resources to run the country. And so one of the measures that any pragmatic leader has to implement is to seriously consider downsizing government if we are going to return to a viable economic condition. So now it has become even more imperative that we downsize. And when we talk about a lean government, I think people just look at it at the level of ministers, even the agencies, the parastatals, you find out that these days you have one CEO and you have 4 or 5 deputy CEOs, all drawing conditions of service that are not that much different from the conditions of service of the CEO. So you virtually multiplied CEO positions. And then you have ministers who have special assistants, and etc. And after that they have public relations officers who are different from the public relations officer of the main ministry that they are serving. And then we've gone to replicate, several development authorities who are just a further superimposition on existing regional coordinating councils and existing district assemblies. And the last time we're even vetting the minister designate for Minister of State at the Minister of Local Government, we probed into even the local government sector. And we found out that even at the district assemblies, you find, so many directors just below the coordinating director. Many of them sometimes without any work to do, any proper designation. So the ballooning of the size of government at the local level, government level, the decentralized district assembly, municipal, metropolitan assembly level, the regional coordinating council level, and then the duplication of institutions at that level with development authorities. Then at the national level, the ballooning of the sizes of the parastatals and commissions and etc.
Let's say that's an executive decision, so he may be able to do that.
Yes.
He may be able to do that.
Yes.
But what happens to this promise about ex gratia Article 71?
Well, let me say that that's actually easy to do.
Really?
Yes, very easy to do. First, you only need to amend the legislation, the constitution, in order maybe to take out categories. Otherwise, you can actually reduce the government expenditure by just going through the process as it is now. Because what is the process now? The process is that the president should set up a committee, and that committee should determine the emoluments of the president and his ministers and members of the executive and give it to the legislature to approve. And then determine the emoluments of the legislature and give it to the president to approve. If one is really committed to downsizing the amount of money that we spend, first and foremost, the committee normally listens to you. What are your proposals in terms of your conditions of service? You, the executive. They always listen to you. And I'm saying this because I have participated in the process before and I know what is involved. So if you go and say, look, we want to take less, the commission will not force you that you should take more. They will accept your less. It is that less that they will forward to the parliamentarians to consider. You understand me? So even before you have amended the legislation, you can implement a significant chunk of your proposal to cut down on how much is spent on Article 71 office holders. The same way, the committee will determine the conditions of the MPs, and then they will bring it to you, the executive, to approve. If you disagree with the quantum that the MPs are asking for, you can refuse to approve. Are you getting the situation? And then, again, you will have had the effect of reducing what should go to the legislature. In any case, you have, very often you have about half of the members of the legislature being your own party members, or even if it's not half, but a significant number. You can use them to push within the legislature so that they don't, hike their demands in terms of their conditions of service. So what the committee will ultimately bring to you will be a moderated figure. So those are mechanisms that any sitting president who is committed to reducing how much we spend on both the legislature and the executive can, for the judiciary and others, I think there's so much concern about how much they get, because already many of us think that they're not getting as much as is needed for them to be able to do their work.
So as far as you are concerned,
yes.
it is not too much a matter of tweaking the constitution. It can be done.
If you have to tweak the constitution,
because Article 71,
when you listen to him carefully,
Article 71 is under entrenched provision.
Yes. When you listen to him carefully,
you need to go through a referendum to amend it.
Yes. When you listen to him carefully, he spoke about tweaking Article 71 in relation to rationalizing the categories. I get the point. Because Article 71 loads a lot of institutions and bodies.
All right.
So he talks about amending Article 71 in relation to rationalizing the categories. So if you want to take out some categories and say, look, these ones don't really need to. For instance, I don't think that you should have I won't mention names now. I mean, I just want to be careful. But there are some people, like, you see, when it comes to the executive and the legislature, they have a very limited mandate. They are there for just 4 years. Okay? So determining what should be his contract for the 4 years becomes a little more tricky. But let's say a judge, he's there for the entire period of 60 up to 65, and then in some cases 70 and 75, depending on the level at which you retire. So it's a longer term, contract. So there should be probably some dynamics that inform how you determine their remuneration. But you lump all of them into the category of a member of parliament and
let me come to you,
a member of the executive who have just a 4-year mandate. So that's where he talks about amending the constitution to rationalize.
So let me come to you, Sylvester. As you understand, this president, who is presently, as in all ex-presidents are entitled, retired on his salary of 22,000, has fully funded international travels twice a year. He's got a fully furnished office space with accommodation and communication tools with 4 staff. He's got free medical care. I don't know if they use that because the system itself, they create it for us, not for themselves. Security, he's got 2 personnel with cars. He's got 2 chauffeur-driven vehicles, and these are going to be changed every 4 years. Then he's got accommodation, or is paid 9,000 plus monthly. You understand that what he's saying is that he's going to scrap this, or what is he going to do about it when he says he's going to work on that thing?
Well, Samson, I think that the message is good, but the messenger is a wrong messenger.
Why?
Samson, I wonder, and I'm happy you asked my senior colleague if he trusts what he's saying. No Ghanaian trusts former President Mahama on this matter, except his own NDC people who trust him.
Why?
He happens to choose an occasion where his NDC people were only chanting and excited, but not to interrogate the man and interrogate the issues. He has an opportunity. If indeed he means what he's saying, he has an opportunity to demonstrate to Ghanaians. In this country, Togbe Afede said he doesn't want to take his ex gratia. So he's giving it to the country. And you want to be president again, and you are enjoying the benefit of Article 71 office holders, you want to scrap. So the best test for you is to surrender it. Then we can trust you. He has a staff with him, and I'm not surprised one of his former executives said he's a retired president who's enjoying all the benefits. So if they lose the next election, he doesn't bother, he doesn't care. You are enjoying all these benefits. He's the biggest beneficiary of Article 71 beneficiary in this country, in the history of this country. Having been a former MP, a former minister, vice president, president, and he's enjoying it.
He's entitled to. He's entitled to say, "I will change that," because.
So that's why I'm saying that the best case is that you have an opportunity. Let Ghanaians trust your word. It's not about what you say; it's about what you do. So now he has an opportunity. He's enjoying it. If indeed he wants to scrap it, then he should surrender all the entitlement he's getting.
Do you recall he attempted it?
I don't. He should put it in. I mean,
this actually not the first time he's talking about it. Wait, in 2015, you recall that he tried to rally organized labor. He tried to rally.
I'm coming to that.
He tried to rally support for this to happen.
Yes, and that's the more reason why 2015, when he said he will scrap Article 71 benefits, I thought that when he retired from office, he should have been an example. You said it in 2015 when you were in power. You were the president of the republic at the time. And you were rallying support. So at least, if you didn't even get the support, as it were, your decision, your personal decision. When he left office, he even wrote a letter to the executive, to the president that succeeded him, that his official residence should be given to him and adjoining properties. So this is a man we cannot trust in any shape or form. So when John Mahama, or former President Mahama, His Excellency, speaks, I'll have to interrogate it. And interrogating whatever he says today is contrary to his own actions and what he's doing today. Obviously, he cannot convince me. He cannot convince any Ghanaian. He has the biggest opportunity as a Ghanaian. If he indeed believes in what he's saying, he should surrender whatever he is.
What if he told you that President Mills began this process of rationalizing this, setting up the Constitution Review Commission, whose report I have in front of me here, and they actually propose an emoluments commission to replace this you slap my back, I slap your back song. And then they try to implement it.
Where's the white paper?
In the process, they accepted it. In the white paper, they accepted it. Right. They tried to implement it. In the process, there was a court case which dragged until around 2015 when the ruling came from Professor Kweku Asah. And then the minority then also opposed it, the implementation. If he says, this is my commitment.
Yeah, so I'm saying that, look, you can have an opposition to everything. Today, I've cited Togbe Afede as an example. If Togbe Afede says, if I become a president of this republic, I will not take salary or ex gratia, Ghanaians will trust him. But you are a beneficiary. Even this month, his salary and a monument will go. You are keeping it and you are telling us when you come. When you had even started this in 2015 when you were the president. So the best form of evidence to show Ghanaians that indeed I can do what I'm saying today was to have surrounded it. And I'm saying that whilst he left office, his official residence, he wrote that where he was living should be given to him. So this is a man that you cannot trust what
you don't know
if
when he says he wants to rationalize it, you don't know the extent to which...
So he will rationalize in mind of himself, if that's what he's saying.
No, I'm saying you don't know the extent to which he intends to rationalize. Whether the rationalization will affect that if you finish serving your term as a president, you should not be entitled to a residence or an office.
But that is what I'm saying, that if you believe in what you are doing, you are a living testimony. So you should practically tell us that you can actually serve as a president without taking all these things. And look, please,
wait.
Let me finish. You see, when the current president talked about MMDCs being elected, it's in the same report. And look at the white paper the NDC put on that particular thing. We are looking at how to have a leaner or more accountable governance, and especially the local governance structure. They said, the NDC white paper on the election of MMDCs, that the president will appoint 5 people, they go through Public Services Commission, and they will go and stand for elections. Laughable. Laughable. So for me, I agree with him that the size of governance today is not limited to the number of ministers and deputy ministers you have. Indeed, the more expenditure of governance today is with the executive and the authorities we create and the CEOs, deputy CEOs and all that. Majority of members, ministers, deputy ministers are members of parliament. They take the salary of members of parliament. The additions are not that much. So that one, anybody can do, and that becomes a propaganda thing. He should go beyond that, surrender all his entitlements today, let Ghanaians have some confidence in him, and of course, tell us, the CEOs, the deputy CEOs, that the Act of Parliament has prescribed how many CEOs and deputies you should have. Most of the agencies of state today are in laws. That you pick a CEO, Cocoa Board has 3, based on their law. National Youth Authority, you have a CEO.
But there's no crime if you don't do that.
Exactly. Yes. So that's what I'm saying, that all these things are prescribed in
the law says CEO plus deputies.
The 2 deputies or 3 deputies or
CEO. You don't
whatever it is. So the actual expenditure of government is more of the executive than...
All right. We take a break quickly. We'll return. Kofi Bentil and Suleiman Abrahima, please hold on. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And when it comes to the ministers, there are many of you who are sending messages that if President Mahama means it, he can do better. So he should promise us to go further down and not at least, it shouldn't go beyond 60. If you have listened to governance experts and teachers like Dr. Kwame Asante, they have said that we can actually manage this country with 19 ministers. 19 ministers. It is workable. Right. Now, some people are also sending messages about the fact that there are many of the agencies that the law did not mention deputy, but we have 3 deputies and so on. What will you say to that? All of that must stop. Now, Kofi Bento and Sulemana, what do you make of President Mahama's, bold promise?
Okay, can I go first?
Yes, please.
Right, so I think this should be made clear. Article 71, issues concerning ex gratia, issues concerning small and efficient government, and constitutional review are the most powerful triggering issues in Ghana today. And anybody who makes a sound promise concerning these issues will capture the attention of the populace. There are arguments about whether they can do it or they cannot do it. Here is the position. It can and must be done. As far as I am concerned, there is no impediment in the way of President Mahama to do these things because honestly, they are easy. Now, this whole argument that if he wants to do these things, he should cancel his own ex-gratia, whatever first, it's a red herring. If somebody says, I'm going to review this thing, if somebody says, I'm going to scrap a bad law, etc., he didn't say, I'm going to cancel pensions for presidents.
Yeah, but lead by example. Lead by example.
No, let me finish. It is not smart to say that the best example is for him to give up his pensions. Look, it is wrong. It is not even in the interest of the country and in its, in the furtherance of its dignity that a former president will walk around anyhow. It reflects on us badly. So nobody should make this, base argument that he should cancel his own emoluments and pensions, etc.
You are saying this is a big issue. Many Ghanaians have been talking about this when it comes to constitution amendment and all. People talk about this, and we have people too, I think including yourself, Isankuma, who say that it's not really about amending the constitution. The constitution didn't say give yourselves as much as you are giving yourselves. So why will you not believe that President Mahama is only playing on this because it will win him votes rather than meaning to do it?
So I'm coming there. Question, why would I not believe? Listen, he's a politician. It is very self-serving for him to make these promises. But beyond that, I started by saying these are the most triggering issues today. And so it is proper if he's a smart politician to do this. This is equal to free SHS. This is the kind of thing that wins elections. No matter what you think about President Mahama, if indeed you can trust that he will do these things, it will make him attractive to you. And as far as I am concerned, no matter what I think about President Mahama, he's a fine gentleman. He's run this country before. Nothing makes me not believe him. So let me make the statement. I have no doubt that President Mahama can, and I hope he will, do these things that he's promised. If he's a serious politician and he wants to capture, the kind of votes that he wants to capture, he should stick with this.
Okay.
It starts. All these reforms, they start with promises. Free SHS started with promises. There were no plans.
Right.
So I'm saying the other politicians should take a cue from this, and they should all give us better plans than President Mahama has given us.
Okay. In fact, some of you have been suggesting that we should make Article 71 and a comprehensive amendment of the Constitution a matter for the elections and hold all the candidates to what exactly they will do. Sule, we have just a minute to go. Some will say, why believe in politician? Kofi speaks with some conviction and faith and hope. Didn't we do that the last elections? What have we seen?
Well, Samson, what I would say is that President Mahama is saying the right things, the things that people would want to hear. Implementation of those promises are certainly critical to our national development. Are they doable? I would say yes, they can easily be done. In fact, I mean, President Akufo-Addo creating regions was, entrenched clause, and we did it, and regions were created. Even in terms of the district level elections of DCEs, I mean, processes were undertaken. It got to a point where the government realized that no, it was not going to make it, and the president literally vetoed that the elections should not go on. And then, of course, he's been there before. So the question is, does he have the track record for us to trust that he would implement what he says? I think that is where the real questions are. And for me, maybe unlike Kofi, I would say that, yes, I can trust that it can be done. But the last social contract that President Mahama had with the people of Ghana was the 2012 manifesto, because he won the 2012 elections and governed led this country for 4 years. At that time, if time allows, just quickly and briefly, one of the things that was said was that, quote, our late president, Professor John Mills, inaugurated a Constitution Review, CRC 2010, to examine both the content and the operation of the 1992 Constitution in fulfillment of one of the 208 manifesto promises. Following that highly consultative and deliberative processes, the CRC produced an impressive report that constitutes an excellent template for improving on the governance of Ghana. Then here is the promise. Further to the government's white paper on the report of the Constitution Review Commission's report, we will involve the people directly in the election of district chief executives and take responsibility for the payment of the remuneration of assembly members. The question is, was it done? There was another one. The NDC government has accepted virtually all the recommendations of the commission.
Yes, but Suleimana, we have run out of time. But when it comes to the Constitution review process, when it was done and the white paper was issued, there was a lawsuit. The lawsuit was not settled until sometime in 2015, late. And then the NPP too didn't support the implementation of it. So how can you blame that government for it?
Well, I personally, I would say that I didn't see that much verve. Because when Mills said he wanted to do this, the commission was set up.
All right, right. Time just caught up with us. Sincere apologies to Dr. Sribo Kweku for what happened to his Zoom. My guests have been Suleimana Brahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa; Kofi Bento, lawyer and Senior Vice President, Imani Africa; Mahama Yarga is MP, Boku Central; Sylvester Tete is MP, Botiano English Amanfro. Thank you all so very much. I'm Samson, Lardy, Anyenini. My outfit, as always, is by Habil Scooter. Have a good afternoon.